What's up, guys? Today's lesson is on the basking shark, or what I like to call the POG shark. It gets its common name from how it hangs out around the surface of the ocean, looking like it's basking in the sunlight. With the scientific name Cetorhinus maximus, you can make a pretty good guess at the size of this shark. I'll even give you a hint. Do you think you're right? Well, you'll find out in a couple of seconds as we dive further into the physical description of this fish. The basking shark is the second largest fish in the world, only below the whale shark in terms of size. Told you it'd be a couple of seconds. And now I'm about to do something society doesn't, and shine the spotlight on second place for once. Just because you're second doesn't mean you don't deserve recognition. I will talk about all your feats, dear basking shark. Being one of the biggest fish, the basking shark can grow up to a whopping 40 feet long and weigh over 5 tons. Fun fact, they have super big livers that can account for up to 25% of their total body weight. That's a 1.25 ton liver. Pretty insane, huh? With the sheer size of this shark, it's no surprise that it looks pretty intimidating to most people, but the basking shark is a passive creature. They don't intentionally cause any harm to humans, but due to their size and thick muscular tails, it doesn't mean they can't cause any harm. They just don't mean to. The same goes for their super rough skin, which on their back ranges from being dark gray to brown, though it usually lies somewhere in between. Their bellies can be slightly paler in color, which combined with their darker back skin is a type of permanent camouflage called countershading that sharks tend to have. Their rough skin means it can easily cause damage to human skin if you're not careful around them. So even if they don't attack nor eat humans, you should still be cautious to avoid any possible injury. Because basking sharks have a pretty similar body shape to the great white shark, they often get mistaken as being one. However, you can easily distinguish a basking shark by its gaping jaw. That's why I call it the POG shark, but you can't tell the difference between the two. Their jaws can open up to a meter wide, which they'll use to scoop up and eat their food. But unlike basking sharks, great whites are active predators that hunt for big prey with their big dagger-like teeth. Basking shark's teeth, on the other hand, are positioned as multiple rows in its mouth and are much smaller. They have long, more obvious gill slits that almost entirely circle their heads, along with developed gill rakers that help them feed. But I'll talk more about their feeding habits in just a bit. The basking shark is found in pretty much all temperate and boreal areas of oceans, in both northern and southern hemispheres. You won't catch them in one place for long though, so take a photo when you see one or you'll miss your chance. Of course I'm exaggerating, but basking sharks are highly migratory creatures that move from one area to another to wherever has the most food, only staying in one place for at most a couple of months. They normally reside around the continental shelf towards the ocean surface, but have been known to be capable of diving down to over 1,000 meters deep. We don't know much about their migratory routes, but we've learned that they can travel really far distances. This was demonstrated by a tagged female basking shark that was tracked moving across the Atlantic Ocean from the British Isles to Newfoundland, a total distance of about 6,000 miles. Now, unlike most sharks which hunt for the big meatier prey, basking sharks are one of the 3 species of large filter-feeding sharks, so their diets are mostly composed of zooplankton, but also include other small organisms like krill, fish eggs, and larvae. To eat them, they'll open their mouths wide and swim through the water, letting water passively go through them as they swim. Out of the 3 species, basking sharks are the only ones that solely rely on the passive flow of water, rather than using processes to help the water get through like suction or pumping the water. From the water that's passed through, the clouds of zooplankton are strained from it by the gill rakers in their gill slits. They need to eat millions of these zooplankton every day in order to survive, which can be equal to several hundred pounds. Doesn't matter if you're 1 in a trillion. If you think you're surviving from something a million times bigger than you and only eats things like you, I'd call you stupid. During this process, basking sharks can filter up to 2,000 tons of water per hour, or to make it sound crazier, around 4 million pounds of water per hour. Because of the huge numbers of zooplankton they need to eat per day, they migrate very often to areas rich with them. And when they're basking in the sun around the ocean surface, they're actually in the middle of feeding. This is because clouds of zooplankton are most abundant around the surface, so basking sharks will spend hours a day eating at this spot. Basking sharks are usually solitary creatures with the exception of during the mating season, which is during the spring and summer months. This is because it's in the warmer seasons where zooplankton abundance increases, so basking sharks can kinda meet up and form small groups. Not much is known about the reproductive habits of these sharks, but it's believed that they're ovoviviparous, meaning the eggs incubate and hatch internally inside the female, then are born live. The gestation period of the basking shark can be up to 3 years long, being one of the longest of any animal. and result in the birth of only a few but big shark pups. It's even thought that these pups are the largest babies of all fish, including the great white. But this is just a belief held by biologists, not a confirmed fact. Speaking of facts, here's another fun fact about them. Even though basking sharks are generally pretty slow moving fish, they can actually leap out of the water. It's an impressive athletic feat to be able to do this, considering their size and slow movement, but that's kinda all we know about it. We don't know the exact reason why they do this, but some people think it's to get rid of any parasites on its body like remoras and especially sea lampreys, which are often seen attached to their skin. On the IUCN Red List, the basking shark is classified as a vulnerable species. In the past, like in the 1900s, they were popular targets for fisheries, being hunted for their oil, meat, fins, and vitamin-rich livers. Today, however, most fishing for them has stopped, but their populations are low and they still face other threats. Basking sharks are threatened by accidental bycatch in fishing gear, as well as prey shortages due to our commercial targeting of krill or certain plankton species for human use. And of course, as with any change as a result of climate change, they are all potential threats to the species as well, so it's not looking too great for the future of basking sharks. Anyway, that's about it for today's lesson. Subscribe for more fish facts, and I'll see you next time.